In Affinity Photo, pattern designs can be used to create all kinds of amazing effects, and also you can combine it with the mesh warp feature. In this case, I'm using it purely from the pattern layer, but you don't have to. You can use the actual design. So I've got this design. Please check out the previous video on how to create this design. I can resize it. That's the pattern layer. And I can turn around and say, okay, that's what I want. So layer and rasterize. So I can turn the whole thing into a pixel layer. So rasterize, and also I can deselect this. I want it all turned into a single layer, no styles, etc. I can use the mesh warp again. So with it selected, go to filters and distort and mesh warp. And in mesh warp, create all kinds of unique designs. But this one, I'm just going to create a sort of like sweet sort of thing where you'd have sort of wrapped around, maybe not perfectly designed, but still something like that. And then once you're happy with it, click apply. Well, now with this design, I can now add a style or a layer effect. Just go here, got layers, click effects, just down the bottom, click there, and I'm just going to add an outer shadow. You could add others, of course. There's 3D, all kinds of things. You could add multiple shadows as well. That creates some interesting designs. So increase the radius, offset. I'm going to go for about halfway, so you can see a sort of three-dimensional like design. But what I can now do is I could rasterize this again, it's perfectly reasonable, but also I can duplicate this multiple times. And this is using the latest 2.2 feature. So if you haven't got 2.2, you can do this manually, of course, but it's much quicker with the new feature. So make certain you've got the move tool selected. With the move tool selected, you can then go and press return or enter on your keyboard. Please check out my videos on how to do that. You've got move/duplicate panel will appear. And then you've got here vertical. And you can enter a value. You could, of course, use other settings as well. Maybe use distance and angle. But you can enter, say, 10. Click there for duplicate, and I can increase that. And as I do that, you can see what happens. You get this lovely, near enough like a three-dimensional effect. And I can also reduce this down. So maybe go for 3. Something like that. So now you can see where you're getting this sort of like lovely zoom effect. Unfortunately, there's no perspective, there's no scale feature. I would love to see that in a future version. But you can increase this to maybe, these are all layers. That's why you could create this quite easily yourself. Just multiple layers, just slightly shifted. And I'm going to put it, say, 40. So 40 there. And click OK. All these layers then, you can see them all there. They're all pixel layers, but it's still got this pattern design. You can select them all, just simply select them all like that, and then you can group them. So right click and group. See, now grouped. Next stage, I'm going to rasterize the whole thing. So layer and rasterize. All turned into one single pixel layer. But I'm going to add some filters. So filters and distort and deform. Here, I'm just going to go with rigid. I'm just going to add a few pins around the image. Now you can add them anywhere, but I'm just going to put it around the edge. And then you can simply just drag in and distort it. And you can see you can create some truly oddball three-dimensional effects simply by doing that. And you can put them outside as well and just drag in, put it like there, just drag that in. In many ways, that's a much nicer technique because then that sort of like keeps that in place. But this one can be dragged in. You can then create sort of like cutting in effects into your shape. So just add some there. And again, add some outside and then just drag in. And that's what I want. Just want these sort of distortions there. Again, another one there. So you can see you can create very quickly some unique designs like that. Well, what you can then do is, of course, you can resize it. You could, of course, go to filters. I always love to do this. Do repeat deform. Apply it again just to see what it creates. Sometimes really weird. But what I'm now going to do is exactly the same as before. Again, select the move tool. Press return or enter on the keyboard. And then you've got this. But this time, what you can do, duplicate, and go for 20 or whatever. And you can go to the rotation field and you can just go over the actual label. So just drag over it. And as you do that, you can see what happens. Creates this lovely, beautiful contour effect as it just goes sort of feathers or fanning out. And you can just increase it, or you can increase this one. So instead of 20, just create it like that. Now, I'd love also to see a randomization feature. Be nice if you could add a little bit of jitter in this. That would be a nice feature in this panel. Unfortunately, it's just sets horizontal, vertical, etc. to an actual set value. But a random feature would be great. And then you can see, but of course, click OK. What you can do, if you want to add some randomization to it, simply go to Window and Layers again, and you can see you've got the pixel layers. You can select any of those pixel layers, and you can just shift it, resize it manually. Not ideal, but you can still do it. And again, exactly the same as before, select all of them. Make certain you select them all. Quite easy, not done. Right click and group, all grouped. And then, of course, you can resize it and continue to modify it in many different ways. Now, at this point, let's go to Layer and Rasterize. And it's all rasterized into a pixel layer. And now you can move it around. And of course, exactly the same as before, repeat deform if you wish. Just try it, distort it, and you can see create even weirder shapes, and also hold down the Alter Option key and just duplicate manually if you wish, and create all kinds of abstract backgrounds and designs that way. You can also rotate it, scale it, and distort it as well. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. A like or dislike, always appreciated. Thank you much.